what's up everybody? This is Eugene from Comexposed and Sigma Digital Studio. It's good to be here. We had this idea to have tutorials and training videos for Comexposed, and decided, hey, we might as well get to it and just share with everybody all the fascinating things we do. You know, we've gotten a lot of questions like, how do you guys do all this artwork on a computer, and how do you guys do artwork in general? And it's a very common question. I thought, well, might as well answer it with some of these videos. We've got nothing better to do. So well, we generally work on a computer with what's called a stylus tablet. It's like a digitized pen that allows you to draw on a pad, and then whatever you draw is reflected on the computer using the software that you have selected to draw. It's also pressure sensitive, so the harder you press, the darker the line, and the less you press or apply pressure, the lighter the line, like you can see over there, and so on. So the idea is to simulate what you would get out of real paper, or the behavior of real paper. And generally we have all the tools that can be imagined in reality that you have access to. Obviously you can use different colors and use a whole spectrum, a whole range. Over here I'm using what's called a color wheel, and I generally pick, mix, adjust colors at will, and have a whale of a time really, drawing, coming up with crazy things, being creative. So without any further delay, let me just get to it and see what I can demonstrate for you guys. Oh, sorry, as I was saying, we've been at this for a while now, working with computers. That's my colleague and I, Mr. Tino Marconi. Great guy, extremely great artist, and this is us. This is generally the workflow that would use to go about creating artwork. And I guess I can just walk you through the sketch as I develop something. I haven't got anything major planned. This is one of my first tutorials, and I'm hoping that you'll end up with a lot more questions by the time I'm done, and it'll encourage some requests. And if we can get some requests and maybe some conversation going about this kind of stuff, that'll be awesome. So I'm drawing right now in real time. This is how I go about things. I got this idea for a female character. And this kind of stuff is pretty common, getting asked to draw female stylized characters. Right now I'm drawing from my imagination, not really guided by any reference art, though under normal circumstances reference art is absolutely crucial, and normally I use it a lot, and I encourage students and other learners to use reference art. And by reference art I'm not saying copy, but it's obvious the human mind isn't perfect, so you'll need guidance from either artwork that you've seen before that's close to what you're trying to achieve, or actual photography, or even a real life model. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about reference art. So here's one of the cool tricks that we have when we're working digitally: the ability to change the size of things, to scale things up or down. I often make fun of the expression blow things up, because I end up imagining the drawing literally exploding into a million flaming pieces. Yeah, but so we got the ability to scale things up and drop their size at will through what's called a transformation. And generally that's what I did there. One of the many advantages of working digitally, though even if I wasn't working digitally, you know, it doesn't change anything about the level of talent I have or the level of practice that's needed for you to get to some of these levels. It's all necessary. Practice is crucial, and yeah, it's one of those cool things that pays off. So this is the general sketch that I'm just going to work on, and let's see how far we can take this. I will ask you to forgive my background noise and possibly my less considerate environment or neighbors or bystanders. So this is me just working on this character from my imagination and seeing what I can do. Just having fun with it, really. I had the privilege and honor of actually doing this live at Comexposed 2015 in Harare, and I'd like to thank everyone who made it. We'll have a lot more of these demonstrations in next year's event and possibly in some events before the convention itself. So here I am trying to figure out what I want to do with this lady's arms. Didn't have too many amazing ideas, I'm afraid, but it's never too late to come up with awesome ideas. It's never too late. So many might ask, what am I doing? What's this process called? This is actually the sketching process. This is the ideation process where you sketch to explore your ideas. Some people can't differentiate between what sketching and actually illustrating or drafting is. I mean, there's a huge difference, you know? I've made fun of people saying things like, I would like you to make me a sketch of a painting, and I was like, wow, that's a tall order. That's a real tall order. I mean, a sketch of a painting. Yeah. But anyway, this loose way of drawing, trying to figure out what it is I'm doing, it's sketching. I'm rapidly developing an idea as I go along. I think it's a great thing to do for all artists, whether you're using traditional pen and ink, pencil, you know, traditional tools, or you're using digital tools. I think it's a great thing to get into the habit of. Of course, I will continuously take advantage of digital tools that I have at my disposal to do little things like that. That was another transformation. In this case, I wasn't scaling it up, I was actually rotating it, just that section of the drawing, because I'd like to make some minor adjustments to what this character is going to do. And yeah, the possibilities are endless. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't work in such a laid back or reckless way. I'll call this reckless, because I'm being very experimental, very touch and go. Whereas in the industry, you're encouraged to work out your concepts first and then finally attack the drawing. with more certainty of what you want to achieve. But then this is, like I said, one of my first tutorials for Comexposed, and well, generally it's my hope that it could stimulate some requests, like, please, can you show us how to do this, or can you show us how to do that? And yeah, would love to. That's why we're doing this. But I'm a big fan of interacting with audiences, so I'm hoping this can be a starting point. A cool way to get started introducing myself to people who don't know me, and also giving everyone an opportunity to just check this stuff out and see what it is we're doing, and have a say in the comment section. So many things that we can do, just adjust these characters and drawings as we go along. So many things. To the close. Give it a little backpack. And so on. So the whole idea is this stuff comes to you, and you're supposed to improve with practice, and it's not just practice of drawing, it's also practice of using whatever tool. However good you might get at this, it's never to the credit of whatever tool, or the computer or the software, because the tool is the tool, you know, and it doesn't come close to art itself. Art is not a slave to the tool. Art will always be there. The tool will forever change. I mean, if you look at Michelangelo and Da Vinci, they were using marble, or they were sculpting or painting using different types of tools, and we have people creating artwork today that is absolutely incredible, and the tool has completely changed, but the byproduct is always going to be the same. Art will always be art. And that's something for those who believe that it's computer aided. No, the computer is just it's a slave to the person behind it. Just gonna pop in that backpack, and with that done, my sketch has come to shape, and something that can be further refined. So this is by no means a full, overview of what this entails. I mean, it's such a complex subject which touches on so many things, such as color theory and shape theory and shape language and all sorts of great things that I encourage you to read on. And it's a great way. This is probably a very, very anemic introduction to everything, but Like I said, I sincerely hope that it'll stimulate some conversation. Some conversation about what it is we do, and answer some questions. Help out some people that want some answers about this stuff. And I know that there are a lot of enthusiasts in Zimbabwe, so if you ever needed someone to consult or ask about this stuff, we're here for you. We're Comexposed, the Zimbabwean comic book and digital arts convention. So surely next time I hope I'll have my webcam on so you can see my face, for those of you who are really particular about who they listen to. But I assure you, you're not missing out on much. So over here I'm just gonna make some room for some fancy fiddling with this selection tool. Just creating an area that I'd like to affect with something that I'm going to do next. Almost done. And voila. I'm just going to exclude some areas for the sake of being realistic here. And then finally, change the color, the shade of my gray. And just like that, I'm going to fill that area. And the reason I'd like to do that is I just want to get rid of what we call negative space. Negative space. Yeah, it's just too much white, too much empty space in this particular case. And just want to get rid of that. What you saw over there flashing briefly was a selection of brushes. That's right, different profile brushes. And depending on what I'm doing, sorry about that noise. Depending on what I'm doing, I'll use a different type of brush, and in this particular case, I just needed to change my brush tip to something different because I wanted to have a different effect on the paper. I wanted to also be more broad, and what I'm doing now is simply filling in some light and dark areas. I think this is just simply known as shading. Again, some choices for my color there. And right now I'm working in one grayscale tone, popularly known as black and white. So at this stage I can determine my light direction and put in shadows in the relevant areas and eliminate light in certain areas. I'm sure you get the point. Not that light doesn't behave in a uniform manner across a surface. It's bound to change depending on its on the nature of the surface and its curvature and all of that good stuff. It's dynamic in its behavior. Light will bounce. It'll reach some areas easier than others and fail to reach other areas which will be in shadow. And that's what makes surfaces appear to have depth. And this is very different from my other paid tutorials that you might find on the internet. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but I'm being very non-committal, or not committing to anything, just being very, very loose in my execution. And for those of you who are curious to know if this is my actual profession, believe it or not, it is. It certainly is. Going back to what I was doing before, but this time I'm more focused on the areas of lightness, light areas, where light seems to be reaching the surface easier, interacting with the surface easier. And I'm just hinting at those carefully. At this point I just softened everything up because I've got control also on, I also have control of the transparency and opacity of different surfaces. So, I mean of different layers. In this and many programs like it, you'll find that they're what are called layers. So it's like a stack or a page or a virtual sheet of paper that you're working on, which is layered or stacked one on top of the other, and you can change the degree to which one is see-through. And that's what I just tinkered with there, just so that I could make my outline less harsh, because the black was starting to conflict with what I was trying to achieve. And that's how much control we can get here. I think they do a great job, the people who make this software, in trying to simulate real life situations in which artists have the freedom to water down certain things, or use light boxes, for example. It's pretty miraculous, pretty cool. Technology has come a long way. So I'm going to back away, continuously examine what I'm doing from a distance. It's advisable. I'm remaining very mindful of what I would like this character to be like. I'm sure you're identifying scenarios in which I'm choosing brushes depending on the situation that I need it for. Some are a lot harder, a lot more indented than others, and as you can see, they yield very different results. So I just want to come in here and commit some of my changes to one layer before I move on to create a new one. And begin to work on certain details a little bit freely. So this is a very general example of what we get up to on a day-to-day basis, depending on what we're asked to do. Working on that earring shape. I think you can see now how I've diverted from the loose approach I was using earlier on to this a bit more conscious approach in which I'm more mindful of where I'm putting things. I'm not sketching anymore, is what I'm saying. Surely we'll draw more interesting things as soon as you guys hit us up with some questions and maybe even requests for what you'd like us to demonstrate. I was being very conservative. And generally you can do this for ages, because well, really good artists are never genuinely satisfied with what they're doing, and they generally work until they've exhausted every idea that they have, and also exhausted themselves in the process. But the idea is they don't rest until they're satisfied, and satisfaction is relative. Very relative. In this approach again, I'm going to make a selection for this region, because I do not want to affect any other region. I was just adjusting my screen there. Right now I'm working in a bit of a minimized state for the screen recording software I'm using. I'm just fighting to develop some sort of depth for this. This depth is good. Depth is realistic. Everybody wants that sense of realism. Some lines are purely for guidance and might not survive to see the end of the drawing. Just wanted to smooth out some of these areas quickly. Just to add to the finessing of it all. Eliminating what might appear to be some really unnecessary line work or something. Constantly refining everything. It's really fun stuff. And as you can see, that the level of development that the drawing will go through, it doesn't have a particular method. The thing with art is it's not a science, so there's no one way of going through things, and the final answer is sometimes interpreted differently by each artist. So the results you get are the results that you want. I guess you can never run away from all that self-expression mumbo jumbo. Just going to release that. Check that out from afar. Begin to refine even more of this arm. And again, come down to all these other areas now that I wasn't taking too much consideration into, and now I can begin to chip away and eliminate all the stuff that I don't want anymore. Because a lot of lines in the beginning serve only to guide you. And when that purpose is served, they sometimes just end up being a hindrance. So I'm just going to soften some of this up. Kill the stroke lines because they can be a little bit unattractive. Come over here. Again, change my brush because that one's too soft. Way too soft. Put in some detail that's a lot more confident there. And again, just wear away the over-indented line work. A lot of tidying up needs to be done here, and clean that up. Just erase that like you would with a real eraser in real life. Until that looks a lot better. And some of this over here looks a little too bright. Overemphasize the behavior of light there. I guess as the image continuously takes shape, certain errors become apparent, and you can come in and address that yourself at your own discretion as an artist. So that's something that's pretty neat. It's really, really neat. Some strokes will need to be a lot harder, some will need to be softer. It's all at the discretion of the artist, of course, and how he or she is interpreting the behavior of light. Under normal circumstances, I would go the whole 9 yards and actually observe some references of certain limbs and things like that, just to have a better portrayal of those aspects of the human body. Of course, this is a very stylized character. This is straight out of my imagination. I'm working from my mind here, so I don't need to be that hard on myself. I know of an artist who does an extremely good job at this kind of thing. From Zimbabwe. He's currently working on a short animated film called Greco. And of course, there are lots of other things to consider, such as style. Style determines the way you attack a drawing, the way you represent certain things, and styles change. So in case you're wondering why this might not look like artist so-and-so's work, well, his style and mine might not be the same, or the style I've chosen to draw in doesn't match his. Again, I've found one of those areas of this piece where the sketch lines no longer serve any purpose. And as a result, we'll just wear them away. So again, gotten to that point where I realized I've got certain areas that have received too much black and are causing contrast that's reflecting in a very unrealistic way. So I'll address that. The beauty of computers is you can always come in and make certain adjustments in post to certain features, such as the tones of the actual image, and you come in and, you know, fix the highlights, fix the midtones. And that's one of the advantages of working digitally. Putting in some much needed detail. And again, tidying things up. Just throwing on some of those details that you'd typically find in shoes. And then again, just for good measure, I'm going to look into how I can control the shadows or add to the shadows. Just give everything a bit of depth. And of course, we're working digitally, so we've got control. And as usual, we commit when we like something. As an artist, usually you know your weaknesses, and we all have different weaknesses. Mine, in the case of digital painting, is my perception of light and shadow just diminishes. So I'm always trying to control myself and always trying to throw myself back into thinking about shadows so that I can enhance them when a need arises. The big circle is me adjusting my brush size. I'm just going to come back in here and add to that soul. Shape it appropriately. And do the same for the other side. Might have worn it too thin over there. Might have worn it down a bit too thin. So this is typically one of those, the way you'd see artwork in a children's illustration or children's book, sorry, for children's illustration. Heavily stylized, very child-friendly, I think. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. So again, not too thrilled about some of the areas of light that I have, so I'm going to take advantage of the computer and adjust things just a bit. Normally we have what's called an S-curve. That's ideal for fixing these things, but I'm not going to get into detail regarding that. It's a bit much. Let's scale this up a little bit more just to occupy a bit more space. And finally, I think I will come in and probably do one of the things that computers are most popularly known for doing, especially when it comes to adjusting things in post. There's certain adjustments that you can always make in post when you don't like the form of certain things. Sometimes we see photos that have been adjusted this way and we don't even know it. And generally that's how media has made us believe that favorite celebrities are actually picture perfect, but it's nothing that a little liquify can't fix. So in general, what I'm doing is I've noticed some areas of my drawing that I'm not particularly happy with the form of, or don't want to get too much into detail painting out the form, so rather distort the image this way instead. That way I save myself time and make the most of a computer. It's a computer. It's there to help you do crazy things like this, so why not? So what I'm doing is I'm distorting this image using a tool called Liquify within this program, and generally it's going to help me make several adjustments that I would have painted out completely had I tried to adjust them myself by hand. Yeah, I guess it's an awesome tool, and I know some artists that rely on it a bit too much, I must say, but there are times when it's called for and times when it's absolutely not called for. Abusing it is not the answer. So just going to make those changes, and for this section, for my grayscale base, I think I've got a decent start for this character. I'm off to a decent start, and I'll probably just make a few more tweaks and come back and probably get into some actual detailed stuff, and that'll be in the next video. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching.